some people do have a tendency to go back to sleep, especially when they didn't have enough sleep, you know. So actually, if you're practicing and fearful of going back to sleep, do raise an arm like so, and practice your countdown with your arm like this. If you have a tendency to go to sleep, the arm will fall and keep you awake again. Keep it like so until you get to your one. When you finish your mental training exercises, then you can get up again. Yes, there is a little confusion, especially even among the scientists too, because we have mental levels and brain frequency cycles, you see. When we talk about the brain, we talk about frequency in cycles, and we talk about the mind, we talk about mental levels. So here we have divisions or sections. The brain has been segmented in several different parts, and each part is given a name, like delta, theta, alpha, and beta. And people, these are the Greek letters, you know, and made in this order, established in this order. But the thing is that some lay people will get more confused when we talk about Greek letters. So actually, we're talking about either subjective levels or divisions or dimensions. A dimension is a complete kingdom or a complete octave. It's called an octave. Seven subdivisions is a kingdom, or seven subdivisions it's called an octave. An octave of music, for instance, is seven different notes. A kingdom of music, he said. The kingdom of light is seven colors of the rainbow. Seven subdivisions again in that dimension. So actually, for us, it's a lot easier, a lot better to get along and not to get so confused to call them levels. Level 1 is theta. Level 2 would be the theta. Level 3 will be your alpha, and level 4 will be your beta. So we're looking for level 3 because we want to add one more level of awareness to our consciousness. We have developed the level 4 beta to its full extent. We have saturated the use of that dimension or that division or that level. Now we want to learn to use another level. So we're learning to develop the use of the third level or third division or dimension or whatever other name you want to give it. But let's stick to levels then. So our ideal level would be the green level because this is where the right brain hemisphere is connected to, and we want to learn to use consciously the right brain hemisphere, which means learning to use the subconscious consciously. And that's our goal right now. We already have used and learned to use the left one. Now we're learning to use, or going to start to learn to use, the right brain hemisphere. And that is level, new level we'll call it, and that will be level 3. The green in the band on the chart, and it is called by scientists the alpha dimension. So that's in green, alpha dimension, and we call it the third level and your ideal level. So from now on, we'll say go to your level, and we mean that level right there. When you reach the count of 1, from 100 to 1, from 50 to 1, from 25 to 1, from 10 to 1, and later on, you're going to go to 5 to 1. That 1 is your level, the alpha level in the green. Okay? Well, for some people, some students complain about that. Other students complain about, I feel so very heavy. Others say, I feel so light. It's a different feeling than from the normal, which means you are entering a different dimension. And your sensations are for the first time, you're sensing something different. And you become aware of those strange or unusual feeling types of dimensions, which means you're actually going and moving from one dimension to another. These are the first experiences. Now, if you like what you feel, well, that's fine. Keep on enjoying it. But if you don't like what you feel, either itching or whatever it is, just tell yourself that it's going to be less and less as you come into this dimension until it goes away completely and will not bother you again. Now you're closer to where the body functions, you see. In the red band, in the alpha, from alpha, the lower one from alpha is the red region, the second level. That dimension has to do with your autonomic nervous system, which means you can alter your heartbeat if you need to. You can increase your blood pressure or decrease it if you want to. You can increase your body temperature, any part of the body, make it warmer or colder if you need to, for whatever reason, in case of health and so on. So we're getting closer to controlling all those areas. As we improve conditions at alpha, which is the green region, we're closer to accomplishing that also. You will become, your thoughts, chemistry changes take place when you're actually a chemical factory. Your thoughts are ingredients to alter your chemistry, your body. You can combine or compound any chemical, any medicine like pharmacists would do by your thoughts, you see. Your thoughts are things. Your thoughts change body chemistry in a fraction of a second. So you are, chemically, you are what you think. So we want to think the right thoughts to have a right chemistry that keeps us healthy, of course. And remember that once we have control of the third level, the ideal level, the so-called subconscious learning to use it consciously, the alpha in the green, the third division or level, when we learn to become proficient in functioning there, we're going to be able to do away with stress. And the stress is what hurts your immune system. And once your immune system is weak and hurt or gets out of control, you're in trouble. So you want to learn how to keep it strong. You want to learn how to do away with stress and also how to reinforce your immune system to keep you healthy. This can be done at Alpha, yes. Imagination. First, we mentioned that we need to develop visualization to its maximum, become proficient in visualizing. And we mentioned also that we visualize with our mind like we see with our biological sense of sight. Whatever we have seen with a sense of sight, meaning the created thing, something that has been created for us to see, we make an impression on brain. We make an impression on the left brain hemisphere. Now, once that impression is made, we want to go over that impression with our mind and describe that impression made on the brain in full detail and color, and that's called visualizing. Now, we can visualize with the left brain hemisphere, but visualizing is not for the use of the visible world of the body, because we have sense of sight to see. Now, visualizing is of the mind. It's for the mind function in the world of the mind dimension. And the left brain hemisphere does not reign in the world of the mind dimension. So, but we need to practice first in the world of the mind, in the world of the body dimension, where we see, we want to also visualize, and also use our faculty of imagination. But the visualization and imagination is not for the left brain hemisphere to use, it's for the right brain hemisphere to use. Because this is the beginning of creation, you see. We need to visualize, and once we make a copy of that, transfer it to the right brain hemisphere, and through imagination, we can alter that image if we don't like what we see. We can alter it, especially where it contains life. Life is governed by the right brain hemisphere. The life energies are governed by the right brain hemisphere. And how, what direction do we move? Depends on what we have seen, what we have visualized, and what we can imagine. So actually, we want to practice visualization and imagination first. On the fourth level, the beta dimension, the blue region on the chart that we seen before. And now we need to, once we practice visualization, we want to be sure we become proficient and understand what visualizing is. Detection of what we have seen with our sense of sight, our biological eyes, and detecting those impressions made on brain and describe them in full detail and color. Now, once we have learned to do that, we want to then learn to imagine, also at the same level, at the level of the body dimension, in the fourth level. This is not the use of the right brain hemisphere. We're still using the left brain hemisphere, which means we can visualize and imagine with the left brain hemisphere. But visualization and imagination is for the right brain hemisphere to use, not the left one. But we need to practice first using the left brain hemisphere in order to know what we're going to do once we learn to enter the dimension of the right brain hemisphere. So, visualizing, the two faculties of the right brain hemisphere are visualizing and imagining. Imagination and visualization. The senses of the left brain hemisphere are the biological senses that we know of, so-called 5 physical senses. Now, we can use the same senses with the right brain hemisphere except the sense of sight, because we use visualization to replace it. But we can also know, we can sense with our sense of hearing, sense of taste, sense of touch and so forth, and with our right brain hemisphere, except the sense of sight. because sense of sight requires the left brain hemisphere function, and we need to stay on the right brain hemisphere. So instead of seeing, we visualize with the right brain hemisphere. So then, practicing visualization is what we have explained in how to do this. Recalling things that you have seen and describe them in full detail and color. Now, to practice imagination, what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? It's something like, for instance, in order to be able to first work in the most difficult areas, because we're going to do this, we need to consider the most difficult areas to work in, then less difficult, then easiest level to work in, or dimensions, or kingdoms. Well, the inanimate matter kingdom that contains the least amount of intelligence is the one that's most difficult to operate in with imagination. Now, less difficult would be the plant kingdom, less difficult would be the animal kingdom, and the easiest of all will be the human kingdom, human life kingdom. So once we function in this manner, we end up practicing in the kingdom that is easier because it contains the largest amount of intelligence. Now, the inanimate matter kingdom contains the least amount of intelligence. But we'd like to start with the most difficult and end up with the easiest and start practicing and developing proficiency functioning in the easiest dimension, the human body and mind kingdom. But in order to start off and practicing imagination, we want to imagine within the inanimate matter kingdom. What do we mean within the inanimate matter kingdom? Okay, let's say you have a rock, a stone. Let's say you hold it in your hand, and you look at it. Well, I mean, you can go as far as we know how you can go. How far can you go looking at a rock with your sense of sight? Well, we know that there's a microscope that is an extension of your perception of sight that projects further into the rock, but up to a certain point, and now more than that, where you're going as far as you could with your microscope, even then. Even if it's an electronic microscope, it can now go all the way. It stops somewhere between the deepest, innermost, and the outermost levels. So let's say that you cannot go as deep as you could go with your mind, let's say. Now, mentally, after looking at the rock with your sense of sight, you're touching it, and then you close your eyes, roll them slightly upwards, and imagine that you have projected yourself into the rock. Let's suppose now that you imagine, no, that this is imagination now. What is imagination? Doing something for the first time. Creating something that you've never done before. Seeing something that does not exist. Creating a scene, creating a condition. You are creating a condition here of mind that never existed before. You had never projected yourself inside a rock. Can you imagine that? With mind, you can do so. Let's suppose that you say, okay, I'm inside the rock. You want to say so. With your eyes closed, your slightly upwards, you say, I'm inside the rock. Now, if I could see here, the intensity of light and what color of light do I perceive? Imagine that there's light inside the rock. Whatever your imagination tells you, that's what it is. Imagine the color and intensity of light inside the rock. Whatever you imagine, that's what it is for you. You see, you're establishing a point of reference of how to detect information inside a rock, how to detect what's going on inside a rock. First of all, you wanted to know about light. Now, what about, let's say, the sense of smell? How does it smell inside the rock as compared to being outside the rock? Try and figure out, I'm inside the rock. Now, I'm using my sense of smell. What do I perceive with my sense of smell? Whatever your imagination tells you, that's what it is for you in relation to your experience as being inside a rock. Now, sense of smell, we already have. Sense of light, we already have. Sense of taste, for instance. If I were to taste, put my tongue up against the wall, what does it taste like? What do I perceive as how it tastes like? Again, we want to use all of our senses here. Our sense of taste, sense of smell, sense of sight, sense of light. Now, how solid is this material? The sense of touch. I want to be able to touch it inside. I want to imagine I'm placing my hand inside this rock. What do I perceive? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it warm? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it cool? Whatever my imagination tells me there, when I'm looking for that information, that's what it would be for me at this dimension. Now, the same thing can be said for sound. How can we test for sound? Well, imagine that you fold your hand like you're knocking on somebody's door and knock inside the wall, inside the rock. Knock inside the wall, or inside this rock, as though you're knocking on a rock wall. What kind of a sound would you expect to get reflected back at you? Try to think about that. You're inside the rock. What kind of reflection do I get back if I did knock on this wall that's made of rock? Whatever your imagination tells you, that's what it will be for you as a point of reference in the future, you see, we say. Because later on you can distinguish this type of a rock to any other type of material. If you have gone projected mentally using your imagination in a piece of wood, for instance, how would this be different from when you were inside the rock? Let's say you have a desk so thick. Let's say you went inside the thick part of the desk, inside the piece of material, inside the lumber, inside the wood. Now you're inside the wood, using your imagination. How does this differ from when you were inside a piece of rock or inside the rock? Use your imagination for intensity of light and color of light. The same thing you will do for sense of taste, sense of touch, sense of hearing. The whole works. Using your so-called five senses, using your imagination, directing your five senses, what are you going to perceive when you have imagined being inside a rock or inside a piece of wood? Now, this is using your imagination. This is starting to enhance your faculty to imagine. Imagination and visualization, those two factors or faculties are the only two factors or faculties that you can use with your right brain hemisphere. This is how you communicate with your right brain hemisphere in the world of the mind, to be able to detect people's thoughts, to be able to detect what has been materialized by materializing thoughts. Materialized thoughts, you can get information from materialized thoughts. You get information when the thoughts are being materialized. You get information when the thoughts are being conceived but not yet materialized. When you're dealing with the right brain hemisphere and detecting information in the world of the mind. We cannot detect it with the left brain hemisphere in the world of the body. You cannot detect FM, for those that know radio, when you're on AM, or vice versa. This is how we cannot detect information that's in space, transmitted by radio or by television. We need a special instrument to detect that information and to convert it to where we can detect it. Where the right brain hemisphere is that mechanism that detects information in the world of the mind, to be able to detect it and convert it to where we can become aware of it with the world of the body, physical senses.